There are gun gurus out there who swear by guns that don't care about dust, mud, rain, or neglect. They'll fire dirty, dry, and damn near frozen solid. But which ones have actually been tortured, punished, and still refuse to die? In this video, we'll talk about 6 of the most abuse-resistant firearms on the planet, guns that won't jam if you want them to. These ran after sandbaths, water dunks, and rust fests. We've got a Tupperware pistol that cops still swear by, Cold War battle rifles that laugh at mud puddles, and all sorts of things. This will be a deep dive into the world of ridiculous reliability. If you've ever wanted a gun that just works, this list is your starting point. The Glock 17 is that friend who never flakes. It was born in the early 80s when the Austrian military opened a competition for a new service pistol. Gaston Glock, who had never designed a handgun before, gathered a crew of engineers, nylon 66 polymer, and a healthy disregard for convention. 12 months later, the Army adopted the pistol, and by 1986, American police departments were doing the same. Today, more than 65% of yes. Agencies issue some flavor of Glock, and the original full-size 9mm is still the benchmark. Why does it behave so well when other pistols choke? The answer starts with brutal simplicity. A Glock 17 has 34 parts if you count every pin and springs and bit of polymer. Fewer parts mean fewer chances for grit to wedge itself where it shouldn't. The polymer frame flexes just enough to shrug off impact, and the barrel and slide use generous clearances so sand, mud, or unburned powder flakes can flow out of the ejection port instead of wedging under the extractor claw. If you search torture footage, you'll find examples of Glock 17s buried for months, drowned in salt water, frozen inside gallon-sized ice blocks, and driven over by pickup trucks. One well-known 100-day burial test involved 5 pistols. 2 went into Kentucky dirt, 1 into a farm pond, 1 into ocean water from Florida, and 1 into a deep freeze. After 100 days, 4 fired the ammo they were buried with, and the 5th went right back to work once rust was scrubbed off the firing pin channel. On AR-500 steel, the shots came exactly where they should. The mud-filled barrel spat sludge like a sneeze and still held chamber pressures. The current Gen 5 MOS version adds front serrations and an optics-ready slide. Street price hovers around $620. Magazines, night sights, and holsters live at every corner of the internet. If money is tight, police trade Gen 3 pistols run about $450 in good condition, and they use the same mags and internals. A Glock's shooting character matches its reputation: flat recoil, predictable reset, and a trigger that feels like snapping a plastic pen cap at exactly 5.5 pounds. It is not sensual, it is dependable. Feed it steel case, plus P hollow points, or bulk reloads, and it hums like a rental car engine that always starts. For folks who want a first home defense pistol, the Glock 17 is the default suggestion because parts, mags, and qualified armorers exist everywhere. The original Kalashnikov was built to survive frozen Russian winters and dusty Central Asian plains with zero tender loving care. Century Arms took that template and machined it in Vermont, naming the rifle VSKA, Vermont-stamped Kalashnikov. Early American AKs caught flack for sloppy trunnions and soft bolt carriers, so Century switched to S7 tool steel for the trunnion, bolt, and feed ramp. E7 is the same alloy used in jackhammer bits. It turns firing stresses into a dull thud instead of sharp edge wear. Reliability reports are exactly what an AK fan wants. Videos float around online of VSKAs dragged behind four-wheelers on gravel roads, dunked in swamp water, and slammed butt first into frozen dirt. After abuse sessions, shooters loaded steel case wolf, grimy lacquered surplus, even half-corroded cartridges found at the bottom of ammo cans, and the rifles kept cycling. One snow test involved leaving the VSKA action open, stuffing it full of powder-fine crystals, then chambering around with the muzzle pointing straight up. Excess snow blew out the ejection port like confetti, and the rifle chewed through a full magazine without stalling. Accuracy sits around 3 minutes of angle with quality ammunition, loose by match standards, but plenty to ring steel silhouettes at 300 yards. More important for this topic, the action will still fire when accuracy is the least of your worries. Market price floats between $600 and $750, depending on furniture and bundle. Century's own web store lists stock rifles, but gun deals and Palmetto State Armory usually have sales that dip lower. Each rifle ships with a 30-round standard pattern mag, and it accepts any comblock curved magazine you can dig out of a surplus bin. Maintenance is classic Kalashnikov. Push the top cover button, yank the recoil spring, slide out the carrier, lift the gas tube, and hose off carbon with whatever cleaner you have. Dragging a bore snake through once in a while is optional. After thousands of dry, filthy rounds, the piston might show baked-on soot. Wipe it with a shop rag, and it's good for thousands more. Palmetto State Armory's PA15 Palmetto State Armory started by selling discounted accessories, then quietly became one of the country's most prolific rifle manufacturers. The PA15 Classic is their baseline carbine, modeled on the M4, yet pitched at first gun buyers who want mil-spec function without boutique pricing. Some enthusiasts expect a $500 AR to choke under stress, but field abuse says otherwise. One commonly cited range rental rifle passed the 1,100-round mark without cleaning or lubricating. It lived on cheap steel case ammo 15 hours a day and only hiccuped once when a dented cartridge refused to chamber. A backyard sand test buried the upper and lower separately, shook them out, and fired 5 mags back to back. Gas rings spat grit like pepper, but the carrier rode home every time. Mud immersion followed by a quick dunk in a stock tank yielded similar results after a squirt of 30-weight motor oil. Direct impingement rifles are supposed to be sensitive, yet the PA15 kept running. Accuracy with M193 ball stays inside 4 inches at 100 yards, dropping closer to 2 inches with match-grade 69-grain hollow points. Most of that comes from barrel quality and a mil-spec single-stage trigger that feels like a brake bar screwdriver. Swap in a 2-stage, and groups tighten. Pricing is the PA15's party trick. Palmetto's daily deals often list the Classic for $499 including shipping, though flash sales dip lower. Mid-tier builds with free-float M-lock handguards and upgraded triggers land in the 600s. Shooters often worry about overgassed budget carbines battering bolts. PSA counters with heavier carbine buffers and properly sized gas ports, so ejection is brisk but not violent. The result is an inexpensive AR that soldiers through classes, matches, and muddy weekends without drama. The Sig Sauer P226 The Sig Sauer P226 owes its reputation to Cold War politics and naval special operations. When the U.S. military searched for a 9mm sidearm in the early 80s, the P226 and the Beretta 92 beat every other candidate in reliability trials. Beretta won on cost, yet the Navy SEALs adopted the SIG anyway because it met their corrosion resistance needs for maritime work. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, the Mk-25 variant deployed from submarines, oil rig helicopters, and desert forward bases without a whimper. The pistol is a double-action, single-action design. First pull is around 11 pounds. Subsequent pulls break at 4.5. An alloy frame keeps weight to 34 ounces empty, and the stamped carbon steel slide rides on full-length rails for smooth travel. Barrel is 4.4 inches of hammer-forged steel locking into a square ejection port. Standard magazines hold 15 rounds. Metgar flush fits hold 17, and 20-round extended tubes exist for those who want a built-in spare. Online footage shows P226s tossed into fine desert dust, given a half-hearted shake, then fired double action with 0 malfunctions. Mud immersions reveal the open ejection port, and dual extractor setup fling muck clear of the chamber. Frozen pistols left slide forward in ice needed only a palm heel to break the bond and run through the magazine. Internally, the slide rides on large machined rails, and the locking block uses massive bearing surfaces. Even after 40,000 rounds, the most common part to fatigue is the recoil spring, replaced in seconds. Feed ramps polished to a mirror at the factory, and the barrel hood locks solid, maintaining headspace. Current street price depends on trim. A German-marked carbon steel slide model hovers around $1,100 on guns.com or Euro-Optic, while U.S. made nitron variants land nearer $900 at retailers like Sportsman's Warehouse. Used police turn-ins can be had for $600 to $700, often with night sights mounted. Spare mags hover around $40 and use the same pattern across the P226 family. Adopted in 1985, the Beretta M9 replaced aging 1911-01 pistols and went to war across Panama, the Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Its lineage traces back to the Beretta 92, which itself drew inspiration from the Walther P38's open-top slide and locking block. For 30 years, American service members learned its manual of arms, and many brought that loyalty home to the civilian range. Search online and you'll find sand tests where the M9 fired hundreds of rounds between stoppages, dust tests where it bested direct competitor pistols, and mud challenges where the open slide flung muck like a water wheel. One guy submerged his in swamp sludge, pulled it out dripping algae, racked the slide once, and emptied a magazine. 40+ thousand rounds before parts failures isn't rare. Replacing the locking block every 15,000 is standard armorer practice. Retail pricing splits across models. Basic commercial M9s start around $479 at large outlets, such as Palmetto State Armory or Beretta's web store. The M9A4, with optics-ready slide and Cerakote finish, jumps to $950. Used Italian-marked 92FS pistols can be found under $500 if one scours pawn shops or police trade listings. I carry an M9 on training days when I want the recoil impulse of a tuned race gun without dealing with light primer strike paranoia. The sights are simple: a front dot and a white bar on the rear. Line the dot above the bar, press straight back, and hits appear at 50 yards on silhouette plates with startling regularity. Slippery Brunetton on the slide can be fixed by adding Wilson Combat rear cocking serrations or Talon grip tape pads. Yet I leave mine stock because dripping sweat has never caused a lost grasp. Some shooters dislike the width. I measure a Glock 17 and find the difference at the trigger guard is barely noticeable. The contour of the M9's palm swell fills the hollow behind my thumb joint, making recoil recovery instinctive. Add the 92D mainspring, drop double action to 10 pounds, and the first shot accuracy question disappears. The FN-FAL, nicknamed the right arm of the free world, the FN-FAL armed more than 90 nations during the Cold War. Mechanically, the FAL uses a short-stroke gas piston riding above the barrel with an adjustable regulator. Standard fixed stock models hide the recoil spring in the buttstock. Parafolders move the spring into the receiver top cover and shorten the barrel to 18 inches. A tilting breech block locks into the carrier during firing, and the rifle hinge brakes like an over-under shotgun for maintenance. Most civilian semi-autos use 20-round double-stack mags, though 30-rounders exist for sustained fire. Reliability stories sell themselves. Argentine Paras slogged through South Atlantic rain without maintenance and still cycled. African bushfighters praised the rifle for feeding even when red dust coated every moving surface. Contemporary range tests mimic the abuse. Adjust the gas plug 3 clicks larger, toss the rifle into a mud puddle, and it fires. Close the gas for suppressed fire. Open it for freezing temps. Either way, the piston never fouls the receiver like direct impingement systems. Accuracy with mil-spec iron sights averages 2 to 3 MOA. My Belgian 50.00 fixed stock prints 2-inch 5-shot groups at 100 yards using Black Hill's 168 grain match. Offhand, the weight-forward balance keeps sights steady on target racks. Recoil is a firm push rather than a snap, thanks to mass and muzzle brake cuts. Pricing depends on pedigree. Pre-banned Belgian semi-autos command $2,000 to $3,000 on auction sites such as Gunbroker or Rock Island, Springfield SAR. 48 rifles assembled in Brazil run $1,500 to $2,000. DS Arms builds brand new U.S. made rifles. Their SA-58 starts around $2,000. The FAL may be heavy compared to modern polymer rifles, and its price keeps casual shooters at bay. Yet when winter hunts turn sloppy, or when steel match stages require certain hits at 400 yards, I trust the Belgian design because it shrugs off elements better than anything else in my rack. So there you have it. 6 guns that shrugged off thousands of rounds, battlefield abuse, and backyard torture tests like it was nothing. Which of these would you trust when your life depends on a trigger pull that has to work? Drop your answer in the comments. Got another indestructible workhorse we missed? Let's hear it. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and smash that bell icon, because we've got more coming that you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching.